to Dan. What a lush place, eh?
Yeah.
You can imagine why the Danites would, when they couldn't conquer that part of the land, would head up here and settle here. Do you remember what they said in the piece we just read? Let's find it again. So this is Judges 18. So they come back and they say, it says, when they returned to Zorah and Eshtaol, their fellow Danites asked them, how did you find things? So they've been up here, they've come back, and it says, they answered, come on, let's attack them. We've seen the land and it's very good. Aren't you going to do something? Don't hesitate to go there and take it. When you get there, you will find an unsuspecting people and a spacious land that God has put into your hands. A land that lacks nothing whatever. It's pretty great, isn't it?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Lush, got plenty of water.
Good soil.
Good soil, yeah. I mean, you see the trees. Who wouldn't want to settle here? Who here would like a house here? Summer house, yeah. Pretty good. Anyways, this is one of two sources of the Jordan River. And this is at the very top of the country. So often, well, a few times in the Bible, the whole of the land is referred to as from Dan to Beersheba. So Dan is in the north, Beersheba is in the south. So they refer to the whole of the land as from Dan to Beersheba, and this is where the Jordan River starts. The other source is in Caesarea Philippi, and we're going to go there after this. I was just chatting to Des, who's a geographer, and we're talking about what a karst spring is. That's a karst spring. If you're from Ireland. Just to highlight the spelling, you've got it over here as well. This is a karst spring, and it says you get 240 million cubic meters per year from this spring. That is a lot of water, isn't it? And as I said before, it looks a lot nicer than where we saw it in Galilee, where it was already brown, and even further down it's even less nice than this.
Is this where it actually emerges?
Yeah, exactly. So, a karst spring. I asked Des, what is a karst spring? And he said, it's a limestone spring. And you remember in Nazareth village, they put limestone under the soil in the vineyard. And that is so that the water will go through the soil and then run straight through the limestone. And then out onto the next sort of, what do you call it? The next tier. Terrace, thank you. The next terrace. I think as well for it's supposed to be especially good for the wine as well when there's limestone underneath. But that is very much a side point. Anyway, so this is a karst spring, and that means that the rain falls in the mountains and it filters down through the mountains until it comes here and it sort of seeps out of the rocks. And you can see that over here. There's no spring over here. It's just sort of seeping out of the mountain. And that is a karst spring. So I've been told to liken it to if you put a sponge, like a washing up sponge, on top of a work desk, and then you pour water onto it. It gets full, but then it starts sort of seeping out at the bottom after that. So it runs through the sponge and then out at the bottom. Is that roughly what a karst spring is?
I'm guessing.
Yeah.
That water doesn't go through basalt. It's impervious.
Yeah.
If it hits the basalt, it'll come out.
Exactly.
On top of the basalt.
Exactly.
This is
So
the
it,
slow basalt, right?
it goes through the porous rock higher up in the mountain, down to where there's a basalt level, and then it flows down and down and down, and then out, seeping out through the rock here. So you can, in essence, you can see why the Danites chose to settle here, and we're going to go and explore part of the city of Dan just a bit after this. But first I want to talk to you a bit about Solomon again. Do you remember we said yesterday that Solomon, he led the people astray, didn't he? He married lots of wives, he had lots of horses, he had lots of silver and gold, so he broke all the rules from the kingly law. And he started worshipping other gods, and he set up high places on the mountains around Jerusalem. God said that he wouldn't get to keep the land, and that the land would be taken from him after his death. It would be taken and torn into parts. So it says this in 1 Kings 11. Also, Jeroboam, son of Nebat, rebelled against the king. He was one of Solomon's officials, an Ephraimite from Zeradah, and his mother was a widow named Zeruiah. Here is the account of how he rebelled against the king. Solomon had built the terraces and had filled in the gap in the walls of the city of David, his father. Now Jeroboam was a man of standing, and when Solomon saw how well the young man did his work, he put him in charge of the whole labor force of the tribes of Joseph. About that time, Jeroboam was going out of Jerusalem, and Ahijah, the prophet of Shiloh, met him on the way, wearing a new cloak. The two of them went alone out in the country, and Ahijah took hold of the new cloak he was wearing and tore it into 12 pieces. Then he said to Jeroboam, "Take 10 pieces for yourself, for this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. See, I'm going to tear the kingdom out of Solomon's hand and give you 10 tribes. But for the sake of my servant David and the city of Jerusalem, which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, he will have 1 tribe. I will do this because they have forsaken me and worshipped Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Sidonians, Chemosh, the god of the Moabites, and Molech, the god of the Ammonites. And have not walked in obedience to me, nor done what is right in my eyes, nor kept my decrees and laws as David, Solomon's father, did. But I will not take the whole kingdom out of Solomon's hand. I have made him ruler. All the days of his life for the sake of David my servant, whom I chose and who obeyed my commands and decrees. I will take the kingdom from his son's hand and give you 10 tribes. I will give 1 tribe to his son, so that David my servant may always have a lamp before me in Jerusalem, the city where I chose to put my name. However, as for you, I will take you, and you will rule over all that your heart desires. You will be king over Israel. For if you do whatever I command you and walk in obedience to me and do what is right in my eyes by obeying my decrees and commands, as David my servant did, I will be with you. I will build you a dynasty as enduring as the one I built for David, and will give Israel to you. I will humble David's descendants because of this, but not forever." Solomon tried to kill Jeroboam, but Jeroboam fled to Egypt, to Shishak the king, and stayed there until Solomon's death. So what happened was, Solomon had failed, and as a consequence, the kingdom is split in 2. 10 tribes are given to Jeroboam, and 1 tribe is kept for Solomon's son. And that is as a consequence of Solomon's disobedience.
What happened to the 12?
To the 12.
That was the Levites, wasn't it?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there's
So they didn't have land.
12 tribes. What is it? 13 with Levi? Yes, because
Well,
Joseph is split in 2 tribes as well.
But if you treat Joseph as 1 tribe, there's only 12. If you treat Joseph as 1 tribe,
Yeah,
there's only 12.
exactly.
But one of them is Levites, and they had no land.
Exactly.
Simeon is absorbed into Judah as well.
Yeah, and Benjamin
And
eventually
Benjamin
as well.
too, yeah.
As well. So later on, the kingdom in the south, Judah, will consist of Judah and of Benjamin and Simeon as well, and then the rest of them will be in the north. Well, let's read on and hear what happens to Solomon's son Rehoboam. It's very confusing. Jeroboam and Rehoboam. Well, Jeroboam is the one who ended up being king in the north. Rehoboam is the son of Solomon. So Rehoboam went to Shechem, for all Israel had gone there to make him king. When Jeroboam, son of Nebat, heard this, he was still in Egypt, where he had fled from King Solomon. He returned from Egypt. So it's still a united kingdom. Solomon has died, and they've decided to make Rehoboam king. So all this that the prophet said to Jeroboam is a prophecy. This is what will happen. You will end up with these northern tribes. But we read on. They're about to make him king. So they sent for Jeroboam, and he and the whole assembly of Israel went to Rehoboam and said to him, "Your father put a heavy yoke on us, but now lighten the harsh labor and the heavy yoke he put on us, and we will serve you." Rehoboam answered, "Go away for 3 days, and then come back to me." So the people went away. Then King Rehoboam consulted the elders that served his father Solomon during his lifetime. "How would you advise me to answer these people?" he asked. They replied, If today you will be a servant to these people and serve them and give them a favorable answer, they will always be your servants." But Rehoboam rejected the advice of the elders that the elders gave him and consulted the young men who had grown up with him and were serving him. He asked them, "What is your advice? How should we answer these people who say to me, 'Lighten the yoke your father put on us'?" The young men who had grown up with him replied, "These people have said to you, 'Your father put a heavy yoke on us, but make our yoke lighter.' Now tell them, 'My little finger is thicker than my father's waist. My father laid on you a heavy yoke, I will make it even heavier. My father scourged you with whips, I will scourge you with scorpions." So he's got two options. Either he procures the favor of these people by saying, "Sure, I will make it slightly easier for you," and they're going to serve him all the days of their lives. Or he will tell them, "I'm going to make it even harder for you." Well, we're going to walk on before we hear what advice he took. So follow me.
We think we know.